You did not lose your mind. You lost your trust in it. And there is a significant difference between those two things that most people who have never experienced gaslighting will never fully understand. At some point in a relationship that was supposed to feel safe, you started questioning your own memory. You started apologizing for things you were not sure you actually did wrong. You started shrinking your own perception of reality to fit someone else's version of events. And somewhere in that process, quietly and without any announcement, you began to disappear. Gaslighting is not an argument. It is not a disagreement about facts. It is a sustained and deliberate pattern of psychological manipulation in which one person causes another to question the accuracy of their own thoughts, memories, feelings, and perceptions. The term itself comes from a 1944 film in which a husband systematically manipulates his wife into believing she is losing her mind by dimming the gas-powered lights in their home and then denying that any change has occurred at all. The film was fiction. The psychological damage it depicted was entirely real. What makes gaslighting so particularly devastating is not any single incident. It is the accumulation. The first time someone tells you that you misremembered something important, you doubt yourself mildly. The second time, you begin to wonder if your memory is actually reliable. By the 10th time, by the 100th time, you have stopped trusting yourself entirely. You defer to the other person's version of events automatically, not because you are weak, but because your brain has been systematically trained to treat your own perception as the least reliable source of information available to you. Psychologist Robin Stern, who has studied gaslighting extensively, calls this the gaslighting effect, a slow and progressive erosion of a person's confidence in their own mind. What this does to the brain is measurable and real. Research on chronic psychological stress shows that sustained gaslighting activates the brain's threat response system in a way that closely mirrors the effects of other forms of emotional abuse. The hippocampus, the region of the brain responsible for memory formation and retrieval, becomes affected by prolonged stress. Cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, when chronically elevated, literally impairs the hippocampus's ability to form and retrieve accurate memories. This creates a devastating cycle. The gaslighter tells you that your memory is wrong. Chronic stress impairs your memory. Your impaired memory makes you more vulnerable to accepting the gaslighter's version of events. And the cycle reinforces itself until you cannot remember what trusting yourself ever felt like. But the damage does not stay contained to memory. Years of gaslighting reshape a person's entire relationship with their own inner experience. You stop naming your feelings with confidence because you've been told too many times that what you feel is an overreaction, an exaggeration, or a misinterpretation. You develop what psychologists call emotional invalidation response, a deeply conditioned tendency to immediately question and minimize your own emotional experience before anyone else has a chance to do it for you. You gaslight yourself, not because you want to, because you were taught to. The long-term effects extend further still. Research on complex trauma, which is a kind of psychological damage that accumulates from prolonged relational abuse rather than a single event, shows that gaslighting survivors often struggle with pervasive self-doubt that follows them well beyond the relationship that caused it. They second-guess their judgment in professional settings. They apologize reflexively in situations that do not require an apology. They find themselves over-explaining their choices, their feelings, and their memories to people who have given them no reason to do so. The nervous system learned that existing confidently in your own perception was dangerous, and it carries that lesson forward long after the danger has passed. There is also what happens to a person's sense of identity. When you've spent months or years being told that your feelings are wrong, your memories are false, your interpretations are distorted, and your reactions are irrational, you eventually stop knowing who you are outside of those corrections. Your personality does not disappear, but it retreats. The parts of you that were most frequently challenged become the parts of you that go quiet. And you can find yourself in a new environment, with people who are genuinely kind and safe, and still not know how to take up the space that belongs to you. Recovery from gaslighting is not simply a matter of leaving the relationship that caused it. It is a process of relearning how to trust a source of information that was systematically discredited, which is your own mind. It requires learning to recognize when doubt is appropriate and when it is a conditioned response to a threat that no longer exists. It requires grieving not just a relationship, but the version of yourself that existed before you were made to feel that your reality needed constant external validation to be real. What you experienced had a name. What it did to you had causes. And the confusion, the self-doubt, the reflexive apologies, the second-guessing that followed you out of that relationship, none of it is evidence that something was always wrong with you. All of it is evidence that something was done to you. And that distinction is not small. It is everything. If this resonated with something you have lived through, leave a quiet comment below. Subscribe to InnerFeels for more videos that finally name the things that were done to you and give you language for the long road back to yourself.